bringing the great weather, and thank you for being with me tonight. We are sold out, completely oversold, booked, packed. It's wonderful to have everybody here with such great energy. My name is Elysabeth Alfano, and you are at Fear No Art Presents The Dinner Party. I invite 3 celebrities and a known chef who cooks for us, and over food and wine and chocolate and performances, the conversations flow. Okay, this tweet is from Ara_Lucia. She wants to know, what was the first dish that had an impact on you that made you want to create?
Oh, that's a really good one. I grew up in a restaurant family, so I had food around me all the time. My grandmother was an amazing cook, and she did the opposite of the restaurant food. She did the food that you just wanted to hang out at her table, and it was soul-satisfying, heartwarming kind of food. And I don't know if this is the first dish exactly that had a big impact on me, but it's one that always has had and continues to have, and that's peach cobbler.
Really?
So this is a peach cobbler in our family was more than just a dish that came to the table, because all the grandkids would get together and we would go with our grandmother to a peach orchard, and we would harvest all of the peaches from this peach orchard.
Where was this?
And this is in Oklahoma City. I grew up in Oklahoma City. So we have one person from Oklahoma City. So yes, here she is. Thank you very much. Yes, and we would drive south to Pauls Valley, which was completely covered with all these peach orchards, and we would harvest them, and it was really fun. But the most dramatic part of the whole experience was coming back in my grandmother's fish-tailed Cadillac with all those peaches and 7 grandchildren in the car. And it smelled so intensely of peaches. And then for the next 3 days after that, we canned the peaches. We made them into peach butter, pickled peaches, all different kinds of preparations that then became the base of every time that the big family got together, we would eat peach cobbler. So I would say that still resonates with me as probably the most dramatic experience I've ever had as a kid with food.
Because of the emotional connection.
It was.
Yeah.
It was all of
And
that
the
stuff.
smell.
Do you find that people will open up to you when you go say, I'm researching this? I mean, can you go up to like a scam artist or like one of those telemarketers and say, I know this is a scam, but can I just ask you how your scam works? Because I'm a writer. You can tell me.
If I had more nerve, I would do it, and I'm sure they would open up. Although it would be a funny scene in a movie more than in a book as to who was scamming who better.
But I mean,
I tend to freeze with scam artists. I tend to become very gelid.
So do you try to do
But you're not
everything that's
bitter.
in your book? Because you have 17 books now, isn't that right? Probably working on your 18th. So do you try to do everything that you've written?
A lot of it I imagine.
I
like
strangled a longshoreman once just to see how long it took.
Like V.I. jumps from a gantry into the sanitary canal. No, I didn't try that.
Do that
Okay.
one, yes.
But the book that I'm working on, I'm hoping to set a scene in the tunnels underneath Wrigley Field, and I do have somebody who, if it ever
Got a guy.
thaws,
Right, if you could, right. If the
is
ground
going to
ever-
take me down there and let me see where you could put a body. or the entire starting roster, really.
ideas are scary.
Because you don't know where it's going to take
They don't know where you're going to
Or when they're going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You just have to be open to it all the time.
Yeah,
And
it's a
be
cruel
willing
life.
to go through, as you could imagine, just like long dry spells where nothing is happening
Right.
and you still show up. That's the whole thing. I think that the difference between somebody who's successful and somebody who's not successful is that the successful person always shows up.
Yes.
You know,
I love
Mary
that. That is so
Oliver has
true.
something to say about that in her, Mary Oliver, the Pulitzer Prize-winning poet, has
Yes.
a handbook on poetry, and she says that about the muse. She says, you know, if Romeo had come to the window and Juliet wasn't there, you wouldn't have a love story or a tragedy.
Right.
And the muse the muse doesn't come if you're not willing to show
To
up.
show up,
Right.
yes.
And
It's
if I
so
can
true.
like segue into something more parental, it's like quality time.
Yeah.
Quality time is a function of quantity time. You know, people talk about I have quality time with my kids. No, you
No,
know,
it's
good luck with
quantity.
that. You know, you
Yeah.
got to be there for a long time until something happens,
Right.
and that
Oh,
that
that's
only
great.
happens as if you're there
Yeah.
enough time.
So not
I-
missing the small moments.
Well, and I said for me with my daughter that I wasn't quite sure exactly how to really bond with her, and so we just started making dinner together. And
Yeah.
that was it was only in the small moments when she was grating the cheese and I was sautéing the whatever, and that stuff would just come out. But you couldn't plan it. You couldn't say, okay, let's sit down and have the quality time
Right.
now.
Amen.
It just had to come out normally, naturally, in the small moments.
It's interesting that you say that because that's a common thing that you do in improv is they teach
Yes.
you to busy yourself, pretend that you're folding laundry, pretend that you're ironing, pretend that you're chopping carrots. And that's when your mind then frees up because you've busied yourself.
You're doing something.
And so cooking is great for that connection time
Yes.
because you're all sort of futzing and then your brain starts to go free and you start to connect.
Absolutely.
You become a cartoonist because you have to. It's a genetic condition, and you do it because you can't not do
Do
it.
it. You have no choice.
Yes, it's something that compels you. It's something that is very life-saving in a lot of ways, because you know those comments that you could make that will get you punched in the face. If you don't
Yes.
say them, but instead write them down in a little notebook, that makes you a cartoonist. And it keeps you alive instead of being that wise ass who got what was coming to him.
Is it the caption first and then you draw for it? Or do you have the drawing and then you find the caption?
It's the idea first.
Aha.
You're writing a show. You're writing a very, very short show. And so you have to come up with the script. You're the prop master, you're the director, cinematographer, you're everything
All in one.
for that short little show. Because there's something that came before that, and something's happening here, and something's coming after it, and you've got to tell all that story right there. And you know there might be relationships involved,
Yes,
and a lot
yes.
of it's got to be quick and iconic, obviously.
yes.
But there's in that snapshot moment, there's a story.
The creativity in our chefs' meetings is always enhanced by technology because we'll be there just throwing out ideas and somebody's on their phone pulling up something that then adds something to the conversation.
The accessibility, I'll agree
The
with you there.
accessibility is just amazing to me that we could do, or I could be writing a recipe and I'm stuck with something and I just need to have a list of herbs. And so I just go, I go on my phone and write list of herbs. And so I come up with this stuff and it's like, I go down it,
Garlic,
oh yeah, that's
the
the
number
one. That's
one.
the one that's right for this recipe. And then I'm right on to the next stage. So accessibility to me is amazing. And I can work so much faster than I ever was able to work
So
in
if
the
you're
past.
using it as a tool, which
Yes.
you are, then it's great.
Yes,
If you're using it as a diversion, it's a time sink.
yes, I agree with that.
So yeah, it can be a great thing, and I use it, for research. I'm sure like Sarah uses it for research all the time, just like find out how do I know this detail without having to take a week on a steamer.
I always wonder what NSA is thinking about all the websites that I go to, like the Anarchist Cookbook.
The
I have that
Anarchist
print
Cookbook
in
is
my
a favorite.
attic, so you can, if you want, you can just come over
So
and you
yeah, I
flip
was
through.
writing a short story where somebody was making a homemade bomb using a furnace, newspaper, and ammonia.
Oh, they're tracking you, Sarah. They're tracking you.
Even if a chef comes from New York or San Francisco or LA and they come here and make Chicago their home, they feel that Midwestern warmth and they become it. And then we have, thank you, we have the markets that keep us together, Green City Market, where over 150 restaurants buy their produce. So I think it's just, we always say if one succeeds, we all succeed. If a restaurant closes, it's so bad for the whole
Absolutely.
community. I mean, we all grieve when someone decides, for whatever reason, to close their doors. So I think what makes our city's so great is that there is a sense of a true love and passion for the city and
Yes,
everything
right.
that it comes.
It's very interesting to me that when people do events, big companies do events all across the United States, they always say they usually start off in New York, and they will host all these chefs, and the chefs don't talk to each other, and they do their event, and it's all done. And then they come to Chicago,
Right,
and they go, what happened here?
Yeah,
It's
yes.
like all the chefs, we all know each other, we're really good friends, and it's just it's a really wonderful community to be in.
Yes, yes, it's so true.
We're knocking on New York's door to, do like what the Grammys do, like 1 year in LA, 1 year in New York, possibly for the Beard Awards. The fact that Michelin has identified New York, Chicago, and San Francisco as the driving forces of America.
Absolutely.
So absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And we now have as many Diamond Star restaurants in Chicago as we do in New York.
Yep.
So I think absolutely we're there.
You will never taste any food anywhere in the world that tastes like the food that we do at Frontera, because it's all inspired by the regional
Yes,
cooking
it's a big deal.
of Mexico,
deal.
but it's all Chicago food. That's what we're really all about.
But this is such an important point, because if you don't have local produce, you can't have local cuisine. And without local cuisine, you're lacking in local culture. It's hard to really help to define that local culture if that local culture doesn't have a local food. Would
So
you
I
agree?
will tell you this one little anecdotal thing that happened to me 27 years ago when we opened our restaurant. And there was a very well-known chef in town, and he came out in the press and said, I would never, ever buy anything local. There is nothing worth eating in Illinois, okay? He said that. Now, that's 27 years ago. And I said, I'm going to prove the exact opposite, but we have to build the system first. There's plenty of people out there that can help us build that system. And I knew that there were chefs that would look at that food and say, whoa, this is so much better than anything that we can buy off the commodity market. And it's certainly not as expensive as shipping stuff in from the four corners of the globe.
I have a wonderful tweet for Carrie at Marjorie May 34. What are the 5 things every person should keep in their kitchen?
Ooh. I think we're going to be on opposite ends of the spectrum here. But please, Carrie, start.
And I should say that this person has won a cooking class for 2 with Carrie Nahabedian.
Nice.
Okay.
Big deal. It's a really big deal.
Well, you're going to have a lot of fun. We've had a lot of great cooking classes at Brundy. By demand, we used to do it when we opened Naha, but then it got to be too crazy.
And I hope you like her 5 things, because that's what you're going to be cooking with. Okay?
I always get nervous when they say 5 things, because I'm hoping you always have salt and olive oil. And,
Right, so let's hope for the
Not
basics.
those
Yeah, okay.
things,
But
okay.
my 5 things, I have to have lemon. And I need milk. But to cook with, I cook my 5 ingredients I go to the store for, because in my house, I went on a big health kick. So in my house, I have skim milk, cottage cheese, mandarin oranges.
Good luck, people.
Good luck. Good luck. I always want somebody to come to my house and say they can make a meal what's in my refrigerator. Because I have yogurt and tons of wine and champagne. So I would say the 5 things, I need lemon, I need a good ribeye, garlic, olive oil, and I love fennel. Fennel is one of my favorites.
Fresh fennel?
And
Fresh
fennel.
fennel.
Fresh fennel, Bob.
So
I
what
like
would
it,
you
yeah.
say? I'm
Oh,
curious. And then I'm
okay,
also
wow.
curious what you 2 would say, but yes.
Okay, so for me, I would start off with beans, because to me,
Of course.
I can't live without beans, and they could be canned beans, they could be dry beans, depending on how much time you want to invest in all this. But I always have canned beans on my shelf at home, because I don't always have 2 hours to cook a pot of beans. Okay, so beans, that's number 1.
I forgot to bring them home from the
And I forgot to bring them home for the rest. That's so true. Okay, my next thing that I always have to have, it's 2 things kind of together. Okay, it's either bacon or chorizo sausage. Okay. So I know it's like a total slam dunk. You can just say everybody. I cannot cook without a cured pork product, okay? It's like, to me, cured pork is really it, okay? Now, I also have to have something that is citrusy, but my tastes go to lime, not to lemon. Carrie's goes to lemon because of her background. Mine goes to lime. So that would be number 3 in there. I have to have chilies, but I would probably say that because my tastes run more toward dried chilies than fresh chilies, not that I don't like fresh chilies, I do, but if I had to choose one, I would choose a can of Chipotle chilies. Okay, so that's my number 4. Because it's smoky and spicy, and it'll give me everything there. And then I would say that probably the last thing that I would have to absolutely have would be some fresh cilantro in my refrigerator. Come on, can I have some applause
Yes,
for
you
cilantro?
can.
Okay.
What about you two? So I would add sriracha to that.
I get that. It's like peanut butter, jelly, mac, cheese.
Those are 2.
That's 4.
Bread.
And beer.
Sarah?
But good local beer. I mean, well, I'll
Of course.
go as far as Kalamazoo for Bell's.
Okay, fair enough. I'm Matilda, my favorite beer. Matilda, Goose Island.
Yeah, Goose.
Although Lagunitas is in the house, and they are taking things over by storm.
Yeah, they are.
Yes,
I
they
live
are.
like half mile from Half Acre, so it's.
All right, okay, fair enough.
No, I got the right
And
fine.
Sarah?
Crime Spree magazine just sent out a little questionnaire. They asked, what will you always find in my refrigerator? And I wrote back and said, you will always find horseradish because I buy a fresh jar every year for Passover, put it on the Seder plate, put it back in the refrigerator. Next Passover comes around, I throw out that jar and buy a new jar. But,
That's perfect.
I guess there's a lot of yogurt in my refrigerator
Yes, me too.
and I use yogurt instead of making sauces. And now, please, this is embarrassing. So they're not listening to me, but so mushrooms are like one of my favorite foods, and mushrooms, kale, broccoli. I saute the mushrooms.
That is so healthy.
I know it's boring, isn't it? And then I pour in some whole milk yogurt instead of making a sauce. And
No, that's good. That's super good. I do the same thing. I think it's delicious.
And that's my lazy woman's dinner.
Wow, very good
No,
for
it's-
you. Okay, so now that everybody has their chocolate and we are winding down a little bit, we are going to stay for drinks and we're going to be here. So hopefully you'll stay with us as well. One-word answers. Favorite junk food down the line.
It's a compound word, chips and salsa.
Yay, chips and salsa. I don't even think of that as junk food. That's how low my junk food is. Your favorite junk food?
Tortilla chips.
What? That's not even junk food, I don't think. It is? Okay. Well, it's got corn. I don't know. That's
Corn
We're talking snack food.
Okay, snack food. Favorite junk food snack?
Gummy bears.
Ooh, yummy. I'll go with that. Yes?
Donuts.
I'll say peanut brittle. Okay, that's our show. It's been great to have